Come join us each week as we dive into topics about the joys and the struggles of motherhood. By no means are we experts. We're practically flying by the seat of our pants, or should I say, mom jeans. On this podcast, you will find a judgment-free zone where we discuss not only the best parts of being a mom, but the not-so-glamorous parts too. You can expect unfiltered, real mom talk, humor, grace, and a sense of sisterhood. What makes our podcast unique is that we understand there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to being a mother. We're not going to pretend that we know everything too, because we definitely don't. We just want a place to share our stories with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Welcome to another episode of Mom Jeans, the podcast. We have a fun special episode for today. We are celebrating our 20th episode. Woo-hoo! Yay! So to celebrate this awesome milestone, we're going to change things up a little bit today, and we are going to do a 20 questions session. So this is going to be just a fun session for mostly me, Mickella, to get to grill our moms of the podcast and just see what kind of answers we can come up with. So, are you guys ready?
Let's do this.
I think so.
Can't wait.
Okay. Before we jump into the questions, we just want to go ahead and introduce ourselves again. So, this is Mickella. I'll be your host tonight, along with
Michelle.
Danielle.
Lisa. Lisa. Did Leah say her name?
No. We're never going to get that right.
It's going great.
Sorry.
See, this is what happens when we close the document. We don't remember who's supposed to go in.
No, the chat is still there. You can pull up
You're
the chat.
You're supposed to say your names.
Yes, but we weren't starting with Mickella, so that we were just throwing the order off.
We could pitch perfect it and all sing them at the same time.
Should we try? Let's do it.
Let's try it.
1, 2, 3. Danielle.
Mickella. Perfect. Nailed it. Let's keep our day jobs.
I'm crying. I told you guys this episode was going to be special.
Off the rails.
There's tears already. Okay.
We're all here.
We are all here, and we are all going to answer some fun questions. All right, without further ado, pencils down, notebooks closed. It's time to answer some questions. So, I think we're all going to take a shot at answering this one. Let's start with Lisa. What has been your favorite episode?
Well, this is me speaking. Nina. This is Lisa. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I can't.
She's Nina now.
It's going to be a rough episode, you guys. My favorite episode... Okay, I'm going to do it. My favorite episode was Nina because I always wanted to interview an author.
My favorite episode, I have had a really hard time deciding between Mommy Burnout, because we went totally off the rails and laughed a lot on that episode, or Tiffany's episode, which was one of the more recent episodes, because her story was just so intense.
I think mine would also be Mommy Burnout for sure, just because we had a really fun time, and just finding out that somebody's also as afraid as the wind as I am was, I don't know, it just made me feel really good.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm developing a fear of the wind now. I don't know.
Mine was the C-section stigma one. I just thought that was one of our most raw, real episodes as a follow-up to my birth story and a precursor to Lisa's. I think it just hits so many topics. So that was my favorite one.
I think it's also changed our relationship since then.
Yeah.
I think we've been a lot more open to each other
Definitely.
since then, which I really appreciate.
Just the importance of, I think someone said in a text somewhere, it was a bit of therapy. It was really good.
All right. And I will say, I actually think that my favorite episode so far has been our first.
I love that
I just know going into it, we didn't know what we were doing. We had never, even dreamed of doing this as individuals, let alone this group. And to kind of listen back to it, I remember listening to it for the first time and I was like, man, we actually sounded kind of good. And I'm really proud that we actually did it. We said we were going to do it and we did it. And we, recorded and published our first episode. And here we are today celebrating number 20. So awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
We did it
Yay.
and we're still doing it.
We are still doing it. So speaking of continuing to do this, I want all of us again to answer what has been our favorite part of doing this podcast.
I would say the weekly therapy, getting things off my chest. I really enjoy that.
I think it's been a lot of fun. I think we've just all been so open and honest with each other, and it's strengthened all of our friendships. And it's one of those things where I am so tired and like absolutely completely depleted from the week. And then when I jump on the podcast and we record and we do this, and when I jump off, I feel like I actually like filled my cup. Like it actually gave me more energy than depleting from my tank. So that's something that I really cherish about it.
Yeah, my answer would be very similar to that. Just talking to each of you each week and just how hard we laugh sometimes or how hard we cry. It's just nice to find a group of women to relate to and have those conversations with. But because before we started this and before I was in y'all's group chat, I felt really isolated. So just being able to see y'all each week has been the highlight of this podcast.
That I've loved learning like what goes into a podcast. Like I think that's been super interesting. Everyone always, you see it on movies like, oh, everyone's starting a podcast these days, but it's been super fascinating to see all the work that goes into it. I've also loved just starting to continue to tell these stories that are so hidden from the world and just reducing the stigma of things and, making these things more common topics. Like even if we're just having a small part of that today, it's adding to the wave and the echo. And yes, I agree, Leah. Like sometimes it's hard to like enter because you're so tired from the week, but you always exit just on such a high. And that's the best part about this podcast.
I love hearing all of your guys' updates just on your kiddos. I obviously don't get to talk to you guys at school drop off or whatever it is, when you guys are doing your mommy play dates and stuff. And so it's just kind of nice to hear what's going on with you guys as moms, and then also what's going on with your kids. And another thing that's just kind of special for me is this is an example of worlds colliding for me. So to have three of my best friends doing this podcast with my sister-in-law across the country is really cool. So that's definitely a favorite aspect for me. So speaking of my sister-in-law, Danielle, how did you come up with the idea to start this podcast? I actually don't know that many people know that this was your brainchild, but tell us how you came up with the idea to get it started.
Well, I always thought I wanted to do something creative, like start a podcast. I can't sing, obviously, you just heard. And I'm not very artistic. My mom can do all the things, and I can't. And I find creative outlets elsewhere. But I just remember texting the group when I was thinking about stopping breastfeeding and switching to formula, and I just felt so defeated, and I was having such a hard day. And I sent a text out, and all of you instantly were responding. And Michelle, I remember you listed out like 10 reasons why like you decided to switch to the formula too. And it just made me feel so seen and just heard. And I felt so much better. Like that anxiety just kind of like lifted, and I felt like I could make a decision that was going to be best for myself and for Weston and, for our family. And so I was just thinking in that moment, because I remember when I texted you, I was on a walk and I was just like, man, I bet other people feel this way too. And I just wish there was a way that we could reach those other moms out there. And I was like, that'd be cool. I could totally start a podcast with these girls. And I lost sleep over it. I was literally like dreaming up or, thinking of conversations of what we could talk about, but I still hadn't told you. I told Mickella, this was the end of the summer last year. And then I saw Mickella at Thanksgiving and I was like, I really kind of want to bring up about starting a podcast. And Mickella's like, yeah, you should bring it up at dinner. But we got there late and, some people left early and I felt too nervous to bring it up. That was the first time, we all hung out as a group. And so I still like sat on that. And eventually, I think it was right after Christmas, I just sent out, I was like, we should start a podcast because we were just rolling in the group chat. And literally within 24 hours, we had a name. Like y'all came with all the ideas. We had a name. We probably had like at least 50 topics or more. And I think a couple weeks later we were recording. We got our mics and we started recording, and yeah, the rest is history. So I came up with the idea, but really like all of you, I think we bring so much to the table on this podcast. With the creativity, there's things that I would never think of that really kind of just bring it all together. So I'm so glad that you guys went with my idea. So that was great.
I think about it and I know that this is our 20th episode, but it feels like we've been doing this for a lot longer to me. Like, because we've just talked through so much in 20 episodes.
Yes.
I mean, think about though, 20, if we did one a week, that's almost half a year. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Well, it is June. It's almost half a year.
Yeah, it's been 4 months.
Yeah.
What date? We have to look at what our first recording was, but it was definitely in January. So we're definitely at.
I have it on our calendar. I put it in our calendar to come up every year.
So Danielle, question like 3.5. This doesn't count as one of our 20 questions, but is it what you expected?
Well, it's more than what I expected. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I finally can like sleep better at night because I'm not thinking of all the ideas, because y'all really just brought all the ideas. I'm like, oof, I can sleep. But yeah, it's been awesome.
So people might be curious about just podcasting in general and want to know, what does a team like this do to actually run a podcast? So Michelle, let's start with you. What role do you play in putting this podcast together?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Like, we don't outsource anything. We do it all ourselves. I have a very little part in that, and you'll hear the rest. But I would say what role I bring some puns and title naming sometimes. Also try to be IT tech support and get our website set up and Google Drive, and make sure that if someone's trying to get into the email, I can approve them. And I do the static social media images. You'll hear from Leah. She's the real guru on social media. And then I try to create functional documents in Google Docs. That's like one of my favorite things in the world. So that's what I do.
I edit the podcast. Danielle here. I edit the podcast on Audacity. And then I taught Lisa, so you'll hear from her in a minute that she also is editing. But that's mostly my part. And that's it. And I'll reshare everything on my Instagram to people to go listen. So I support everything that everyone else is doing. So, yeah.
And I do some of the social media. I do our clips on Instagram. But I think something that we all do that should be mentioned here is that we all help source and contribute to finding who our guests are. Each one of us has a different network of moms that we've either known for a long time or that we've been meeting along the way. And so each one of us has brought a guest or has another guest lined up. And I think that that's really cool, that we've all been contributing to that and bringing in people from all walks of life.
I have not contributed in that realm, but I plan to. I have not contributed any guests, but Lisa here, and I post the podcast every week to Podbean so that it gets out to all the platforms. I write the descriptions. Usually they're short and sweet now, and if anybody has suggestions on getting those better, let me know. I also, like Danielle said, have edited 2 whole episodes. Very exciting. And I also post the shorts to YouTube. So one day we plan on hopefully getting some editing for video on there, but man, that is some hard work. So I understand why people go to trainings for those, because that's some hard stuff.
And I don't do much. As you can tell from what everybody else just described, Leah, Danielle, Lisa, Michelle do so much work to make this podcast run, that, and I don't know that they need much more from me. So I show up when I can, as you guys know, when I'm not traveling, and I ask silly questions in our group chat all the time. And every once in a while I'll help contribute to some ideas, but that's pretty much it for my contribution to this podcast.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit more. First off, Mickella, you came up with our name, Mom Jeans, gave us the idea. You also give an outside perspective, which is awesome. You ask questions that, like, I guess we probably already assume that people know, but probably don't. So that's awesome. And most importantly, you brought this whole group together. So this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you. So don't cut yourself short.
Oh, thank you. Okay, how about that? I help manage relationships.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I think we're all in agreement that this has been a pretty awesome thing for all of us to do, and it's a pretty wonderful group to do it with. But enough about the podcast. Let's talk about kids. Let's ask some questions about kids. So, all right, all you moms, starting with Lisa, describe your kids in 3 words. Go.
Well, I have 2 kids, so I have 6 words. So you get some extra credit for that. So Hannah, I would describe as fiery, independent, and extremely smart. Aubrey, smiley. That has to be, if you've ever met Aubrey, you get a smile out of her. Like the Grinch. If you've ever seen the Grinch, think of that's the way she smiles, just that vindictive, slow smile. She's extremely opinionated and strong-willed.
What does she have an opinion on already? Just question 4.5.
Everything. If you put her down, she's pissed at you. If you stand her up, she's pissed at you. You give her the wrong food, she'll give you a little like, are you for real?
Fair enough. I think Wesson is adventurous, curious. He's super, super curious about everything. And hungry. That boy eats so much.
I thought you were going to say hunger for life. Just hungry for life to learn more.
Well, that too.
Straight up
he's
hungry.
Very curious, but yeah, just straight up hungry. Even the new teacher at school said something. She was like, "Wow, he really eats a lot."
Leah, you copied my answers from like 2,000 miles away. Because seriously, on my paper, I didn't have hungry, but Weston is hungry. Mine were adventurous, curious, and active, which is kind of like adventurous, but I found it a little different because he likes to just move. He does not stop until he's like down for sleep, but then he also just likes to go and see the world, and he'll just go and not even look back. Like, so very adventurous and just very curious about everything around him.
I too had curious, but I switched it to inquisitive. This is Michelle and Sierra. So my words are inquisitive, kind, and an early riser, which I am not. So, yes, those are my words.
Michelle, can you think of 3 words to describe baby number 2 so far?
Ooh, a trooper. He's been very sick. Well, he's been sick via me quite a bit. Let's see. Active. I definitely think we have another soccer player in there. And trying to figure out the right way to say this in a word, but like sitting low. Like he is like just like lounging.
Chilling. He's
chilling right on my pelvis, and it's painful. So until he kicks, and then all those things. So yeah, we're gonna say a trooper, chilling, and active. Mickella, can I ask you to describe your kiddo in 3 words and your kiddo's name of Tommy?
Oh, sure. Yeah, my fur baby, Mr. Tommy Pickles. How would I describe him in 3 words? Long. He is very tall and long.
That's such a good one.
One of his nicknames is Giraffe. Another one is the Noodle. He's very goofy. Another nickname is Monkey. And he is very sweet. He is just like a well-mannered, sweet, he wants to please everybody kind of dog. So that's my baby. All right, Lisa, back to you. How do you keep track of your child's milestones and memories?
So I started by using the Notes app on my phone, but I have since gotten, I think I told you guys about the 5-year diary, and you just put in a line a day, every day, and then it comes back like obviously once every year, and you can be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's what we were doing last year at this time. So I love it. I bought everybody one of those, but I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. But oh, I love it. I think it's the coolest thing because I think it's going to come back and be like, oh, I didn't put that in the Notes app. I'm so super glad I had it.
So Danielle, what is your favorite memory with Weston to date?
Oh man, that's a tough one because like he does something fun or funny every single day. But the one that stuck out the most was like when we went skiing and he was in his little carrier and Ryan skiing down the mountain with him. He didn't really have any expressions or feelings about that. I feel like he's like, what is going on? But that was a fun memory. I think just because it made me realize that we as parents can do more than we think we can sometimes. We just have to push ourselves to be uncomfortable, like to do those things. And so that was kind of an eye opener for me. So that was a good memory for sure.
I won't be offended that it wasn't coming down here and spending time with Aunt Kellen.
That's fun too. Anytime you get to spend time with family is awesome as well. And I love that because I get a break, which I don't normally get, but
no, having a memory with the 3 of you guys, that's really special. So Michelle, what is your funniest parenting moment?
Oh man. So I have to go with, right now we are calling this Sierra's duck era, and I'll tell you why. So she can say a handful of words, and she says them all in like a very normal tone, like ball, bubble, etc. But then when she says the word duck, she does it like this. She goes, duck, duck, and she goes like so high pitched, and she has become obsessed with ducks anything, and it's just so cool to watch happen. So like, the amount of duck things we have in our house is pretty crazy. Like, she just got duck Crocs from my mom. She has this duck that makes other ducks. She has this mobile duck. We have duck books, and like, it's all she wants to read. She finds a book and she just goes right to the duck. And last night we were on the other side of town, and someone had told us about a duck pond. So we're like, let's just take Sierra there. I swear, like, she didn't actually do this, but like, she basically jumped out of her car seat, hit the ground, sprinted over to these pile of their goose. We won't tell her they weren't ducks, but like all these geese, and started like chasing them. And I was worried she was going to get attacked, but she's just like pointing and screaming, duck, duck, duck. It was so cute. And in Wisconsin, she saw so many ducks too. And so this duck era, it just has not gotten old. It's lasted, we looked it up, like at least 2 months now. And it's just, the build of ducks is pretty crazy. So it's led to a lot of laughs and a lot of good memories.
It's a good thing she hasn't messed up that first letter of the word yet.
Lisa, do you have a story about that?
Yeah, that was a wild one. And we're like, where did she pick that up? So Brandon said, what the? And she goes, fuck. And we were like, oh my gosh. And we just started looking at each other like, where did she get that? And Brandon goes, what did you just say? And she goes, fuck. And she said it like so innocently. And we were like, and we started laughing, and then she started laughing, and then she started to say it again. And we were like, okay.
Maybe she learned from Sierra. She was saying duck. I think maybe that was actually
Yeah, totally. That's totally.
Yeah,
what
it's
it
just
was.
total coincidence that it was in that context. I will say I told Bryce that story and immediately he started laughing and then immediately he goes, "Man, I really got to watch what I say around her." So I think he's taken some credit for that.
That's so funny. I did tell Ryan, I was like, if we move to Phoenix and we're hanging out with you guys every weekend, I was like, we're going to have to get Bryce a swear jar. He's going to have
Yes.
to dial it back just a little bit. That's so funny.
Yes, he will. All right. This is a fun question. You guys ready for this? And I want all of you guys to answer, starting with Michelle.
Ooh.
If you had to guess what Sierra would be when she grows up, what would she be?
My husband would say some sort of pro athlete, but I would venture to say she's going to be some sort of engineer. She loves the like to toggle and things and get very into the details. So that's my guess.
I was not prepared for this question, but thinking about how active Weston is, probably like an ultra marathon like runner, but that's not a job. I mean, you can make it one, I guess, but he's also very curious too. He's either going to be a mountain climber because he just like wants to climb everything right now. Literally, he climbs our coffee table and stand in the middle, like, "Look at me, mom." Or I would say maybe something like an engineer as well, or just something that I just, anyways, hope that he does something cool like that because he does. He's very interested in, like you said, Michelle. When you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of describes Weston too. So I just stole your answer because I didn't have a good one.
I mean,
Anything music related? I mean, I know he's always been
Oh,
really interested in instruments.
Yes, he is. Mickella, thank you. Yeah, he loves when Ryan plays the guitar or his opa, which is his grandpa, plays the ukulele. So he loves music and he loves dancing to the music. So I definitely could. The other day, I needed to get dinner in the oven, and he was in the kitchen, and I turned on bluegrass because I'm from Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains, and we listened to bluegrass, and he was just drawn to that. They were just playing their little instruments on the TV, and we don't do screen time, but I did make an exception. I was like, he can watch people playing instruments, and he just loved it. So good point, Mickella.
So I'm wondering if this is like an age, a phase, a stage that all of them are at, because like I was totally going to say an engineer for Wes as well. And at school, like his teacher would say like he's going to be an engineer, like he's always inspecting how the wheels on things work and the mechanics of things. So being that all three of our kids were within 10 days of each other, and we're all kind of answering that they would be engineers or something along those lines, I would love to know if this is like a normal stage or phase that kids go through.
That's why Love Every's boxes are the same for all the kids in those age ranges, right? Because they get into learning and their brains work like that. It's awesome. Isn't it fun though? Aren't you guys enjoying watching them go through those stages?
MIT class of whatever, watch out. We've got 3 good candidates coming.
I was gonna say if you guys need some engineering help, send them over to Brandon, and he'll have my hairdryer apart on the table. He'll have our toaster oven apart on the table on many occasions. So send them over.
Just make sure the manual is available.
Oh gosh, that drives him bonkers if you don't use the manual, because he spends so much time making manuals that nobody reads, and then they call him and say, "Why isn't this working?" And he says, "Don't you read the manual?" So yeah, I was gonna go a little bit off the cuff here, a little bit different, and I did this at my baby shower too when people ask this, because I think it's tough to put labels on little kids, and you don't want them to, speaking from somebody who followed in their dad's footsteps in the work life, I will say Hannah is going to be independent and Aubrey's going to be happy. And those are my hopes and dreams for both of them.
That was a good answer.
I love that.
That's sweet. I like that.
Yeah. And wherever that takes them, they'll be independent and happy. All right. Leah, I know that you do a lot of cooking. I think almost all the cooking at home for your family. So what is the favorite recipe that you've made for Wes?
My favorite one that I continue to make over and over again is the chickpea blondies from Yummy Toddler Food, but because Wes's school is completely nut free, I have to replace the peanut butter with sunflower butter. And it turns them into this like really pretty blue green color because apparently when baking soda and sunflower butter are cooked together, it releases the chlorophyll from the sunflower butter and it starts to turn the food green. So we have this like really pretty, I mean, it's a beautiful color. Really pretty, like blue green bread that I make probably every other week. High in protein, low in, it just uses maple syrup, so no added sugars. Egg free, dairy free, nut free. Um, it's really good. It's really good. I really like it. So
Big props to Yummy Toddler Food. We get the majority of what we make off of there and in my household.
I also made some cottage cheese muffins this past weekend that were really, really good too. And I got the inspiration because I've made the cottage cheese waffles from Yummy Toddler Food. And I was like, well, I don't have a waffle maker because it was packed because we were moving. So I was like, I only have a muffin tin. And they were cottage cheese, oats, and just a dash of maple syrup. And they were delicious as well.
So, side question, does Wes have a favorite food? You mentioned that he is hungry. Does he have a favorite thing that you make?
Well, I don't make it, but he loves avocados. Like, okay, bougie bitch. Like, could you choose something a little bit cheaper? He will smash at least one full avocado a day. And then
Let's go.
he really
that
likes.
is not cheap though.
No, it's not. He really likes chili. He also will eat chili every single day and be super happy about it.
All right. On to question number 12. This one goes to all of you. Lisa, would you rather, you have to pick just one. So would you rather have kids sleep all night, no fussy eating, no more tantrums, completely done with poop stuff, or have 1 day a week with no kids?
Oh boy. Quick answer, kids sleep all night.
I'm going to go no more tantrums because we are in the height of our tantrum phase right now. It's oof.
I'd probably say no tantrums. Maybe because he has tantrums sometimes, yeah. But where he goes limp noodle right now. That's what we're doing, limp noodle. When I try to pick him up off the ground, and if it's not his idea, he's not happy about it. So yeah, that'd be great.
Man, I'm sure one day very soon I'm gonna be like, why didn't I say no more tantrums? But like right now, it's got to be kids sleep all night, and I want to preface during my sleeping hours, according to my body clock. But because I've always kind of said I'd rather deal with the day problems than the night problems. That just is, I can navigate those.
I wonder if you get to a point where tantrums are just kind of like I've gotten to the point where I understand they're really good for her developmentally. So I've kind of tried to change my mindset on them, because talking to my friend who has an almost 5-year-old, they're still dealing with them. And I'm like, that's a long haul. Gotta just get your mind ready for that to happen.
Or you say, with this question, you have no more tantrums for 5 to 10 years. I still have tantrums.
Yeah.
A lifetime of tantrums.
Yeah, true. Mickella, what would you say?
Ooh, that's good.
Oh man, I forgot I was supposed to have an opinion on this too. I will say one con when I have thought about the potential to have a kid is the lack of sleep. I already am a horrible sleeper, and I sometimes feel like I would die if I had a kid that didn't sleep well. I would just die from sleep deprivation. So I would probably choose kids sleep all night. Tommy woke up on Saturday night in the middle of the night sick, and then again on Monday night twice in the middle of the night. And I was a wreck the whole next day. So kudos to all you moms that deal with it for years every night. 1 night a week is too much for me. So kids sleep all night.
I just want to add, it's not on here, but the one that I would choose that's not on here is no more booger stuff. I would choose poop stuff over boogers. I hate my own, like, this is TMI, but I get sick when, like, just thinking about stuff in my throat. So when I'm trying to suck boogers out of Weston Snows, I'm getting, like, sick, like, almost to the point where I'm gagging. Like, I'll just avoid it all day. He'll just have, I'll wipe them. I can't.
I couldn't do boogers with Hannah, but then with Aubrey, I was like, it just has to happen because there's two of us, and I can't just wait for Brandon to do it all the time.
Yeah,
it changed for me. I hope that changes.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, it's rough. Isn't it?
My boogers gross me out. So it's too much. So, but yeah, hopefully I'll get better. I'll get a stomach for it. But
man, I've been shocked though at times at how many boogers can come out with that snot sucker thing. Like, it is like adult sized amounts of boogers.
So gross.
I will say, you guys know I love to play with and hold your guys' kids and interact with them. But sometimes when there's lots of snot running down their face, I'm like, go to mommy.
I respect that.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. You're like, I don't have a kid in daycare for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, literally nobody ever told me that babies are gross. And I have had the hardest time dealing with, like, Weston being sick, Weston being gross, Weston having snot. Like, I'm not a total germaphobe, but I just, like, take care of my health a lot, and that is a huge priority for me. And I had never been sick for like 5 or 6 years until he came around. And I'm like, dude, babies are gross, man.
Like, yeah, no one told me I was gonna have to do
kids are gross
poop samples and scoop up poop into a testing tube 3 times.
Okay, I have another would you rather that's maybe a little bit cleaner. Let's see, Michelle, we'll start with you. Would you rather have a self-cleaning house or a personal chef?
This one's easy for me. Self-cleaning house, without a doubt. I actually love cooking. It's very therapeutic for me. Good way to wind down my day. But man, I hate dishes. I hate piles, and kids, it's like all day, every day. Anyways, on to whoever else.
That one's really hard for me because I wish I could say both. And that's why I said, would you rather? Because I like a clean house. And I hate, like, I get stressed. Like, what am I going to cook for dinner? I hate it. But I would probably say a self-cleaning house. Because if I'm going to cook and make a mess, then the self-cleaning house is going to clean it up. So, yeah, definitely clean my house, please.
I'm all for a personal chef. Absolutely. Because here's the thing. I really appreciate good food and good flavors. And, like, back in my days of opening restaurants and traveling around, we used to go to the best restaurants and eat such good food. I don't have time to cook that type of good food anymore. And I really don't want to eat chicken ever again in my life, but it's quick and easy to make. So if I could have a chef who could make delicious, flavorful meals for me, I would be the happiest person.
That is a compelling pitch.
I was going to say a self-cleaning house, but because I live next door to Michelle, if I get a personal chef and they cook for us, then her self-cleaning house can clean my house too.
No, that's not how this works.
No.
I think that's exactly how this works.
Your house is not self-cleaning. Michelle's house is self-cleaning.
Also, I want to change my answer after listening to Leah's.
Oh, I'm on board with Leah, 100%. No question for me, personal chef. I hate cooking. I hate thinking about it. If I felt like I could pay the same amount to eat out every night, but have that food at home, I would. And have it be healthy. So 100%. And I actually like cleaning the house. There's something therapeutic about it for me, and I get satisfaction out of it. So I like cleaning the house. So no question.
I'll pay you. Come on over.
Personal. Yeah. I like cleaning my house.
What's your rate?
I'll send you a quote. We're going to switch gears a little bit and go off of primarily kid topic and talk more about momming in general and just mom life or life in general. So this question is specifically for Michelle, Lisa, and Leah. So starting with Michelle, why did you decide to be a working mom?
Such a long question that I'm going to try to answer simply. I think being a working mom personally makes me a better mom. I think I have a part of my brain that, has always needed to work in certain ways and as a creative outlet and in whatever capacity. So I think that having that balance in my life personally has been really helpful in me showing up better for my daughter.
I'll be completely honest. For me, it's because I have to be. If I could be a stay-at-home mom and spend all my time with Wes, I would do that.
And I will say I could never be a stay-at-home mom. I think stay-at-home moms are incredible. I have no idea how they do it. I couldn't do it. I mentally would have a really, really hard time. Props,
So many
Danielle.
props, Danielle.
So moving to you, Danielle, why did you decide to be a stay-at-home mom?
I have a lot of answers to that, but I will say I didn't always think I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Weston was enrolled into daycare, and the closer it was getting, the more anxious I felt about it. And I don't know, for me, and when I say this, like, I don't want obviously to make anyone else feel bad, but for me personally, it's just thinking about someone else spending 8 hours with my child, and I get that little time after, work and, just hustling of getting dinner ready and then putting them down to sleep. It seemed really stressful for me. I don't like a whole lot on my plate. I don't feel like to feel rushed. I get very anxious. So I just felt like this was the best route. And then I did a little like research on just the attachment theory and like secure attachment theory compared to other ones. And not saying there's a right or a wrong answer, is definitely not, but that's kind of what led me to like, I feel like what's going to be best for my family is if we stay home. And then also being in the military and with Ryan moving and just like job security, anyways, it's kind of hard when we move. And pretty soon next year, we're going to be leaving anyway. So it seemed like the perfect time to at least try to see if that's what I wanted to do. And I could always go back to work if I decided, well, this isn't for me. And there's been times I'm like, wow, I don't know about this, but I'm really getting into a groove of things. And I really do enjoy spending that time with him. So we'll see. To the point that I'm considering homeschooling now versus traditional school. So that's just kind of what led my journey, is probably my anxious self that just didn't feel ready to let go.
There's a sneak peek for an episode coming up at some point. It's got to be around homeschooling. But I love that answer, Danielle.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's like a loaded question, I feel. For me anyways. It's just because I swear there's days I'm like, did I make the right choice? But for the most part, I do feel good about it. The downside is the cutting back of things that we have to do. That's been the hardest, for sure.
And Mickella, to kind of include you in this question, right? So you've opted not to have kids, and so that stay at home versus work. What are the things in your life that fills your cup and your hobbies? How do you feel your life?
Well, going back to an earlier question, I sleep, which is great. Well, I shouldn't say I sleep. I get the opportunity for a full night's sleep every night, which is nice. But I love to do anything outdoors, hiking, camping, going to the creek, whatever it is. My husband and I spend a lot of time outside together. We both also really enjoy going to the gym. Yeah, we're one of those weird gym rat couples. And then spending time with my dog. I know he's not a human child, but he is my fur baby, and I love any chance that I get to spend with my little family, including my husband and my dog. So, and I get the opportunity to work from home, so it's kind of like the best of both worlds. Although Tommy sleeps all day, so I don't have to worry about tantrums in the middle of work calls or boogers or poop or anything like that, which is nice. All right. I got another describe in 3 words question coming at you, Lisa. So this is for everybody, but Lisa, we're going to start with you. Describe yourself as a mom in 3 words. One, we'll let you know if you're right or not.
Patient, impatient, patient.
Ding, ding, ding. That feels right.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
I think I actually probably should have gone impatient, patient, impatient.
That's funny. I don't know. Patient. I think I'm kind of fun with Wes. Like, we wrestle every night before bed, and like I throw him around. And okay, so patient, fun, and like, I don't know how I would describe this, but it cracked me up this past week because like he climbs on everything, and he will stand on top of his climbing gym and like hold on with one hand and raise the other hand and like rodeo clown, like. And I'm so used to it, but it's hilarious because my in-laws were here and Steven was home more than he normally is. And every time like Weston did something that was on the verge of like brave or whatever, adventurous, risky, everybody would like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I'd just be like sitting back watching because I'm like so used to it. So like understanding that he's like learning a lot right now through his body.
I'm going to say trusting.
Yeah.
Confident in him.
Oh man, I had a hard time with this. I did say scrunchy, which is on the verge of crunchy, but I'm not like, there's some things I'm lenient on. I definitely do a lot of organic and try to do more like homeopath type things, but I'm not like fully there.
Us.
So
You're not us.
So I'm scrunchy. I would say adventurous, like, or like to go out and do things, and I'll let Weston run through puddles. And literally, my grandmother-in-law was like, "I can't believe you let him run through a puddle. I'd be worried that he was so cold." And I let him climb things, and yeah, so kind of like what you were saying, Leah, just like giving him the confidence. I'm there, but I'm also like trying to help him learn to be more like confident in himself and in his body. But then I also put anxious, which I know is a negative, but that's just the reality. I do overthink things, so I'm an overthinker about things. So I want to work on that. I don't want to be an anxious, like I don't want him to look back at me and be like, man, she was just anxious about everything, because my mom was very anxious about everything. So, but that is me right now at the moment.
I think I would be a really anxious mom too.
Yeah, it's just like, are you doing the right thing? Like, are you doing enough? Like, so it's just,
But
I'm always in my head.
yeah, and the flip side of that word though is analytical, well researched, like programmatic on a lot of things too. So there's a lot of upside to it.
Careful.
Careful. Yeah.
Careful. That's a good one. Yeah, we'll say careful.
Before I give my answer, I just want to shout out the perks of living next to your great friends. I'm currently watching my husband and Lisa's husband have a bonfire casually on a Wednesday night. And there's like smoke coming up. I see Brandon's bald head going over the fence, and it's great.
Because stage 1's restrictions start tomorrow. And he was like, we're having a fire. We're doing it before they ban us. I'm like, there's a reason it's starting tomorrow. Like, maybe we shouldn't be the ones who burn the block down.
Man, I wish I was close. I'd come over.
Yeah. Everyone's invited after this, I think. We don't have a nanette, so I don't know how, we're going to make sure Sarah stays awake. Anyways, my words are just a word I try to live my whole life by, but I'm really trying hard to bring to motherhood is balanced. Is the first one. Comforting. I just love that when she comes to me, she almost immediately calms down. That's just like a proud spot I'm finding myself in. And then worldly is a word my grandma used to say a lot. And I just want to make sure exposing her to different thoughts, different places, different ideas, different approaches, different foods, those types of things too.
Mickella, what are 3 words that describe you?
As a dog mom,
No, just as a
As a
person.
human.
as a human.
As a human.
Oh, this payback, Lisa? Put me on the spot. Active. I definitely like to be constantly doing something, some type of physical activity. Compassionate.
That's a good one
And
for you.
honestly, anxious fits the bill, if I'm being honest. I'm an overthinker and a stressor, and that plays into a lot of my day-to-day to-dos and interactions. But yeah, next time we do this, we're gonna get to say 3 words that describe each other.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Love it.
But for now, let's talk about our partners. So let's start with Michelle. What do you appreciate most about your partner as a co-parent?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I would say, if anyone knows Ryan, he's a super high energy, active person. And one of my things I'm about to say, I guess I'll start with it, is like he has a very fun and toddler like personality. So like when I just want to sit on the couch, he just gets to be a toddler with my toddler, and they both are just seeming to have a lot of fun. So that's definitely one, is his fun and toddler like personality. Energy wise, he's very mature otherwise. But I think in storms that I expect someone like that to have a lot of high reactions. He's also so calm. And like when I say storms, it's just like when I get stressed or overwhelmed, he's really good at just staying focused and staying calm. So that's a big thing for me. And then just so much genuine love and such a full heart, and that just translates to everything. So those are some things I appreciate about Ryan.
Well, the other Ryan, my Ryan, he I don't know, when he comes home after a long day at work, I mean, even if it's like trying or if he's had a long day, he comes home and he's like so excited to see Weston. I did say, could you come home with that enthusiasm with me? So he does, it's funny. He's like, hey, no, but he's so excited to see Weston because it's, how could you not be excited when little like toddlers running towards you with your arms open? But he's just so good with him. And like he comes home and like, if there's days that mostly I try to have dinner cooked, but sometimes there's days I'm like, I didn't have time. He'll like just whip us up something really quick or, but he like will spend that time, play with Weston, we'll go on a walk, or he does bath time and bedtime every night. And I do bedtime with them, but usually he's just, you know, just kind of comes home. And if there's times like I need a moment or whatever, he's like, go do whatever. But usually I like to spend the evenings with them because I like to spend time together. But I would say he's really great with that. And even on the weekends too, it's like he's got it. He's like putting him down for naps, getting him up for naps, getting his meals ready. So I kind of feel like I get a little bit of a break from doing it all week. So he's definitely helpful in that aspect, and just so much love. He loves Weston so much. He didn't think that he wasn't sure if he even wanted kids when we first started dating, and like he just tells me, he's like, I couldn't imagine life without him now. So he's just an awesome dad and an awesome husband.
Yeah, Steven loves me and Wes so much and so hard and so good and so well. And so that is something that is like just the best. And he's always willing to step in, step up, jump in, do whatever he absolutely can to help take care of Wes and take care of me. And I really appreciate that. And he works really hard to provide a good life for us too.
Yeah, I would say Brandon and I have talked about it, and he's like, it's funny that each of us thinks that the other one has the harder job because he does all the dishes, because I can't stand doing the dishes, and I always feel so guilty that I never do the dishes. He's like, "Oh, you do all the hard stuff." So it's nice that we complement each other well, but not to, make it seem all easy. It's not easy, right? And we can appreciate the good things, but also appreciate that this is not easy to do, to go through. And if you have a good partner that you can really rely on, it's awesome to have, but also understand that you're going to have some rough times too.
I would say for me and Bryce, very similar to what you just said, Lisa. We have had now 3 dogs together, and all 3 of them have had some pretty significant health issues, especially the first one that we got together that we had to put down at the young age of 6 due to cancer. And then our current dog, Tommy, who has epilepsy. And it's really hard to go through those like really difficult health concerns with your fur baby. And having Bryce, he's like a rock when it comes to talking through that stuff. And he's somebody that I know that I can talk through about that stuff. And we have like open communication and make sure that we're on the same page about how we're going to approach different things. And I think that's really huge. And that's been really comforting to have somebody that is both understanding of the emotional aspect of it, but then also willing to have like the really hard conversations and help make decisions together when things are hard. So I really appreciate that about Bryce as a dog co-parent. All right, let's shake it up a little bit. Something fun. Lisa, I think all of you guys have the travel bug for sure, but Lisa, you definitely, I know that this is kind of one of the things that you thought about when you had decided to try and get pregnant was, oh my gosh, am I going to lose the opportunity to travel? And I think you figured out that is not the case. So I know you've already taken Hannah, especially on some pretty exciting trips, but where do you want to travel with your kids one day that you have not taken them to yet?
I think right now, because of the stage that Hannah's in, and I know Aubrey will get to, I'd love to get to Africa and see the animals.
That would be awesome. Take us with.
Sorry, I should have said this is a question for all of you. So, Leah, where would you like to take Wes?
Africa with Lisa, Hannah, Aubrey, and Brandon. Gosh, I want to go everywhere. I don't think I'll ever get over that. Like, I want to go everywhere. We've been talking a lot about Europe lately. We're trying to plan a trip to Mexico in November. So everywhere and anywhere.
I feel that for sure. I was going to say Germany because, like, that's the next place that we wanted to go. But I'm going to say New Zealand because we've been talking about a family trip, Mickella, to New Zealand or somewhere cool like that. So let's make it happen. Let's go to New Zealand. And we can do, like, the Lord of the Rings tour because we know that. Or actually, let's just send Bryce and Ryan on the Lord of the Rings tour and we'll just hang out.
I mean, honestly, if we all went together, it would feel like they were just on their own adventure.
For sure.
I was going to say, I'll caution you about New Zealand. Once you go, you'll never want to come back. Their way of life is very, very cool and laid back.
There's no way I could get Bryce to leave. He would become a 6'1" hobbit in a second.
Yes. How many quotes would we hear from that movie if we went? So many.
So many.
That's all they would speak in the entire time would be Lord of the Rings quotes.
What about second breakfast? Or is that the Hobbit? Same thing.
Yeah, we'd hear that one a lot. I will say that.
I will also hop on the safari bandwagon. I happened to go a few years back in Kenya and it was life-changing. And I'm like, had the thought on that trip of like, I don't have kids yet, but one day this would be so cool. I like don't know the optimal age, like you want them to remember it type of thing. But that's absolutely on my parenting bucket list. But the other thing I've had on my mind for a while is I hope starting next summer potentially is that we pick a different country or different place and stay for 2 weeks and just get a long-term Airbnb and try to get immersed a little bit in that culture. So, some of the easy ones that come to mind are Costa Rica or somewhere like that. And then we're talking a lot about Europe, and Japan would be really cool. And I spent a summer in Hong Kong, so that would be neat too, to bring them back there. So those are some goals of the longer term stays in one place.
If only we could all be the bucket list family. I don't know if you follow them.
No.
I'm like, you should. They take their family everywhere. They've been everywhere. And they literally just like sold their house. They had no money and they like went. Now they have sponsors and all sorts of money and like they live in Hawaii now. But it's just like they do exactly what you said. They go to these places and like live the culture and learn all the things. And so, yeah, the bucket list family, if you haven't followed, they're
Shout
great.
out to the Bucket List family if you would like to join in on one of our episodes and tell us how you all did it.
Yes, please. Then we can get all their 2 million or whatever followers they have.
I was going to add to one of our would you rather, have all these things or infinite money to travel always. That would be nice.
Money and
travel
time.
always. Yes.
I will answer this question about Tommy. He hates the water, but he's never actually been to a true beach. And so I think it'd be fun to take Tommy to, I know San Diego has a dog beach. So I think it'd be really fun to take Tommy to a dog park on a beach somewhere. I think he'd actually enjoy it.
Cool. Next girls trip and bring Tommy.
Okay. Girls trip plus Tommy.
Yes.
Deal. All right, ladies, we have made it to question number 20. So if you have tuned into some of our most recent episodes where we specifically have had some guests on, we like to ask the question, what is your favorite piece of parenting advice? So I'll kick it off with Lisa. Lisa, what is the best piece of parenting advice you have ever been given?
I don't know if this is advice as much as it's something that rings with me a lot, is the days are long, but the years are short. That's a big one for me that I've been feeling with Hannah. Like, man, she's a lot and the days are so long. But when I think about how long ago she was born, I'm like, I can't believe she's already 2.5. Like, this is going too fast. I was just talking to a friend who I met when she was pregnant with her first, and her oldest is 11 now. And I'm like, wow, I just remember when he was born and it's gone so fast.
I think I just remind myself that no two kids are the same, and what works for one may not work for another. And I know we're probably not going to have a second kid. There's 99.9% chance that we won't have a second kid. But I sometimes still think about it, if we were to have a second kid, I have to remember that that kid is not Wes, and just because something worked with Wes may not work with another one.
I would just say give yourself grace, as much grace as you can, because it's hard. It is. But it's also just an amazing, messy journey. And just enjoy the small wins. You just have to remember that those sometimes just come in moments. You think it's supposed to be great all the time, and that's not real life. It's just, celebrate those small wins. They slept through the night. That's awesome. All the small things. So just kind of remember those, and just remember that, sometimes we go through hard seasons, and just there's light at the end of the tunnel. I just made that up. I actually don't know the best parenting advice that anyone's given me. If they have, it's probably went one ear and out the other, because it's I'm a learn as you go kind of person. But just definitely give yourself grace and just know that you got this. And yeah, find a supportive group that makes you feel good, and when those moments that you feel low, that they help bring joy to your life. I don't know if that's a good enough answer, but that's what I got.
I love that. Oh man, so much advice. I've gotten so much from all of you too. The one that I come back to a lot though is the concept of let them. I think that one is, it's a Brene Brown story and quote, and I think about it probably every day, right? And it's for myself, for Ryan, for Sierra, for my parents when they're with her, just like recognizing that Sierra is her own human, and really trying to let her grow into the human she's born to be, and be there to help provide, bowling bumpers if I can along the way, and a good foundation and structure and value. But, you know, let her explore things cautiously, or dangerous things cautiously, I think is like one of the lines that are there. And then same thing with Ryan, like let him figure out his way of parenting and his way of being a father. And those are, that's, I have to remind myself all the time, because it's so easy to control the situation or want to. And so it's probably the advice that comes into my head a lot, besides at about 6:35 p.m. when I'm looking at bedtime. The days are long and the years are short. That too also comes into my head every single night.
Well, I obviously haven't been given any parenting advice myself, but advice that I have heard given, one of my favorite things is, and Michelle, I feel like maybe you said this on an earlier episode, but comparison is the thief of joy, I think is the saying. And while I think it is important to understand general developmental milestones and things like that, it is so easy to compare yourself, your partner, your kid, whatever, to anybody else. And the days are long, but the years are short. So focus not so much on the comparison, but on the joy piece. And I just want to give you all one last little piece of advice to, like Danielle said, give yourself grace and trust that you guys are all excellent mothers. Trust that. Believe it. Well, congratulations. You guys, we've made it through 20 questions.
In 20
Lisa,
episodes.
you can sigh a breath of relief now.
We did it.
Yes.
And that wraps up another episode of Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Thank you again so much for listening to us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider giving us 5 stars so other mothers out there like you can find us and listen. If you would like, you could follow us on any of our socials at Mom Jeans the podcast. If you have questions, would like to send us your birth story, or give us suggestions or things that you would like to hear, please email us at hello@momjeansthepodcast.com. See you next week.